Joe, I can't tell if we're hosting a podcast or an event today. I feel like we have a full room. We have never had three interviewees on the show before. And I feel like we should all just raise a glass and celebrate that. This is so fun, you guys. Thank you all so much for being on the show today. Woo, there you go. Well, Teresa, you are a repeat guest and a popular episode at that we had with you. Gosh, it was almost a year ago at this point, which is just insane to me. And you brought your co-authors of your new book that I want you to plug later in the show as well. But I kind of just want to dive into the meat and potatoes of this interview. So, solopreneurs, they wear all the hats. And that doesn't mean that certain jobs disappear. It just means they take everything on, unless, of course, they outsource or use AI, which I think we're going to chat about today as well. But for solopreneurs, they need to act as their own product managers. So, how can they apply modern product management principles to build better offerings without a full team of employees? And Diana, why don't you answer that?
Yeah, I would say if you'd asked me that question probably 3 years ago, I would have given you a different answer. I think we're in a space now where there's tools that are amazing to be able to have an idea, test an idea, riff on an idea, refine it, launch it, keep on going through an iterative process in a very AI agentic way. And so there are a number of tools now that are helping people be able to do things on their own that weren't possible. I think we've all probably heard the Sam Altman quote, he's expecting the first single, person unicorn to appear shortly. I mean, there are a number that are already like just two people that are happening. So I believe now the tools that are in place really enable us to do that. But I would say there are downsides too. Working along someone else helps you get out of your head. It helps you to get out of that just my view is the right way, and helps you expand and diversify your thinking. So that's one thing you'll probably hear from us throughout the talk is that even though AI is there, it's nice, but it's not the same as working alongside another person. You have a lot of opportunities for brainstorming and collaboration, but humans are weird. We say one thing and do another, and we've got all these quirks. So it really helps to have someone human to be able to brainstorm alongside as well. Tools can help us, but still recommend bringing on another co-founder just to accelerate and amplify the amazing things that happen when you're working alongside another human.
Well, we always say flying solo in business doesn't mean you're alone. And I agree from just work with other contractors, work with other solopreneurs. But you guys do talk about in your book about AI being a co-founder. So what does that look like? Because again, solopreneurs, they're solo. So if you bring on an AI co-founder, what kind of roles, responsibilities, how do you use that in building a business, quote unquote, together?
I can grab this one. I was holding myself back talking about AI there. But solopreneurs and product managers are really similar. And we do talk about AI being a co-founder because a lot of startups are using AI as their co-founder, just as that. I do a lot of startup coaching, as does Diana and Dr. Bart. And, as part of that, I'm learning that these teams are replacing other roles using AI. They're replacing product managers, using ChatGPT. They're replacing developers using Claude and other tools. They're replacing designers using Lovable. So the ability to have a tool with some of these AI products to be able to type in your requirements like a product manager would as a solopreneur is really allowing companies to launch their products in as short as a week. And I've seen a lot of websites, I've seen a lot of products. Now, is it the highest, we call in product management MVP, minimally viable product, or, anyone that played sports growing up, most valuable player, there's a lot of similarities there. But are they putting together the right products as, for product management? That's a big question mark. But from a solopreneur standpoint, the efficiency and time, that is being created and the time that is being saved is really advancing the capabilities for solopreneurs.
Well, so in terms of getting everything streamlined and just how quickly, because in Teresa and our last one, we were talking about sprints and all of that. And it was just like people can get things done so quickly when they're focused. But Dr. Bart, like how can solopreneurs be building systems to scale without employees using your guys' methodologies and frameworks?
I would say that if you look at the core of product management, it's about communication to get your idea, your way of reaching the client to a group of people that will do the design for you, that will make the tracking specifications, that will code the solution. But with having that AI co-founder, or I'd be more comfortable saying AI assistant, you basically have that streamlined. This is sometimes a single person or a few websites that you just keep on talking to until you get the result you want. You basically have the same experience, but condensed and very productive. Of course, I don't think we are at the level where solo entrepreneurs can be their own development team, but they can push it to like 80-90% there of an MVP, struggle with some issues, some bugs, or AI doesn't quite get you at some point, but then grabbing, say, an expert from Fiverr to finish off the work, it really allows you to cut down that time to get any idea on the table. I myself have very little coding experience, and I've been vibe coding for one thing to experience it myself, to see what can be done, and found out that really I was able to do any script I wanted to get my solo entrepreneurship journey easier with automating stuff that I couldn't automate in the past. Just by talking to ChatGPT, I could set up my own LLM to then look at my incoming messages, to then read them, decide what to do with them, and only forward me those that, well, are worth my attention, which doesn't sound like a lot. But in fact, if you get pitches from people who don't really know what they want, they just want to sit on a call to discover that you're not a great fit, if you can skip those, you can be better focused. You can work on the ideas that are worth your time and not blindly test different opportunities. Like in Scrum, you're trying different ideas to reach your goals, and some of them will be successful, some of them will fail. And with the current age, the failure rate, I think, will drop and drop, and it will be both for big teams and solo entrepreneurs alike.
So I need to step back here. I'm going to ask my job is to ask the stupid questions, and the stupid question, from the perspective of solopreneurs now, people that they might be a life coach, and they might be all kinds of different things. Maybe they've developed an app, but what do we mean by product management? What is the I'm hearing a lot of stuff here, and I'm kind of going, where's the box? What's the box that makes product management, and not something else? And I don't care who answers.
No, my question, I'm a coach, so part of me wants to know, what do you think product management is? But product management is amazing in the sense that, it allows you to be involved from the start of an idea all the way through to its release and beyond. And what you're doing in all instances is you're putting the customer first. And so you're doing discovery to be able to identify, the actual pain point that the customer has. You're defining who that audience is that your product will most appeal to. I think Teresa mentioned, the ideal customer profile or persona that might be interested in the product. You've got to identify that. And then, as Bart highlighted perfectly, you're working alongside a whole crew of people to be able to bring that product to life. And some of those people, quote, maybe AI now, but when you get to that point of development, you're moving beyond something that's a prototype and actually coding behind it. And then when you're go to market, you often work behind or alongside a product marketer or a marketer just to be able to, identify the channels, the outreach, and be able to capture customer feedback alongside that. So as you're highlighting exactly, Joe, there's all of these different facets that a product person is involved in, but they're the consistent thread from start to finish.
Okay, so the product manager is interacting with these other people if need be, or if you're a solopreneur, you might be playing different roles and doing these jobs and all in one person, but different jobs. So okay, thank you. I think that helps a lot. Appreciate it.
I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but by default, solopreneurs are product managers because they are seeing their business idea from start to finish. Is that a naive thing to say?
No. I mean, I think that's a good thing to say. You'll often see, like, I know when I was interviewing people in some of my jobs, you'd often see a person who had started a company, describe that as product management. So, Carly, I think you hit on something key.
Okay, so because Dr. Bart, you were talking about like getting things to 90%, and just in terms of seeing something from start to finish, a lot of one-person businesses and people where their product is their baby, they are not releasing it until it's 100% ready for their audience, and that's just not going to happen. So, what do you say to those type A people that want to wait until it's 100% ready, knowing that day may not ever come? How do they get over that mental block of just releasing it when it's good enough and then iterating from there?
I
Dr.
think
Bart.
I think it's the LinkedIn's founder who said that released is better than perfect, and that if he didn't say that, I'm pretty sure he said that if you are not what's the word, embarrassed by your first release, then you've released too late. And while those are a tad cringy, I'll admit, it really unravels the true focus that you have to have. That, as I think Diana or Teresa mentioned, you don't know what's going to happen when you release. You don't know if your idea is sound, if you did all the prep work correctly in order to get a good product on the market. Or maybe your idea is good, but it needs some tweaking. No plan of attack has ever survived the actual battle with the enemy. Enemy being here a metaphor for client. But the sooner you can get feedback from the market, the sooner you get into the agile loop of feedback and experimentation, the earlier you will be able to actually craft product that will deepen its market fit or even create it, because it might not be there initially. It's a waste of time and opportunity if you delay too long. That said, I will admit that my career as a solo entrepreneur started with a year of building my MVP course, which I would tell to anyone else that I took far too long, that I shouldn't have started so ambitiously. But at the same time, I remember my research. I remember what I thought, and I remember what I identified as the package that looks like the one that will give me an opportunity. And I'm proud to say that I think I identified my MVP correctly, despite the long term. And I've correctly identified what I put to the second year of work, where I polished my MVP to a point where I didn't touch my course for years now, because there's no more feedback to address. Probably if I opened my ears a little more now, I would have heard that there's not enough AI, and well, there isn't anyway. I know that the AI was not in the picture for product managers. But at the same time, as a product manager, I know that updating it is not the best use of my time at the moment, and I need to focus on other ventures in order to optimize the value I can bring to my students and myself.
That's great points there. Well, so it's one thing to get the product out the door, just to have it out there for people. But your book also focuses on future proofing your career and your products and services. So, what are some ways, Teresa, that solopreneurs can future proof their businesses just to set themselves up for the long term?
Yeah, and one of the things Bart touched on in a bit, in addition to having a product management background, we are each solopreneurs and started our own businesses. And so, that's why we really believe in this podcast and, why we're all here today. And, in terms of future proofing your career, whether you're, a solopreneur or a product manager, it's all about, upskilling. Right now, the ability to be upskilling in AI is the highest theme right now, as is the ability to figure out how to amplify what it is you are selling as a solopreneur. In terms of whether you are a solopreneur of a product and that product is your baby, whether it's a physical product or a software product, or a different type of business, or even an influencer, which is a really big solopreneur route that a lot of folks are building and growing to incredible businesses. Yep, Dr. Bart being one of those. That is an incredible opportunity to interact with your audience and grow that brand. So those are really the two key things for future proofing: is upskilling to make sure that you're interacting with AI, but also how are you connecting with your followers? How are you keeping your following? How are you building your business and revenue over time? And those two things together are how you ultimately future proof your future.
I totally agree with that. I just wanted to point out, because I always make this point whenever anybody talks about being an influencer, that you don't want to leave your fortunes to social media alone. You want to collect those email addresses, because I have heard too many times of people getting their account basically, canceled for some arbitrary, meaningless reason, and losing 1 million followers and starting from scratch. And so just always give that caveat of, make sure you're still collecting those email addresses so you have those people under your direct control and contact.
No, that's a good point. Well, we wanted to have you guys on because I feel like when we talk about wearing so many hats as a solopreneur, people are like, oh, I have to put on my marketing hat, my sales hat, my this, my that. But it's like, you are a product manager. You have to wear that hat if you want to get your idea out to the public. So I think you guys really reinforced that today, and I really appreciate it. Teresa, you're off the hook because you have already given us your quote in a previous interview, but we asked all of our guests this question. Dr. Bart, I'm going to have you go second, because if you didn't know that we were going to do this, you can have a second to think about it. But Diana, we ask all of our guests, what is your favorite quote about success?
Yeah, I'm going to give a quote from Connie Chung. I was reading her book, and she says, for those of us who are driven, we perpetually see another mountain to climb, and success is ephemeral. And so I really like that. It stuck out with me, especially as a solopreneur. I mean, even though there may be people, alongside us in some capacity cheering us on, we do need to find that path that we want to lead. And I think that is most exciting when you're a solopreneur, because there often is no path. You get to be the one who designs it. And so I think that's part of the excitement.
Love that. Dr. Bart, are you ready?
Oh, that's I for a moment there I wanted to ask ChatGPT to help me out with some quote, but I decided to be a little bit more myself here. And I don't have any business leader or an author that gave me an inspiring quote about being successful in business, but I really did like what my wife once told me, that I am a bloody lucky person with so much good luck that really shaped what happened with me over my life. However, the difference between luck and skill is that she said that she can observe that whenever I see an opportunity that's super lucky, I can take the most of it. And I was like, okay, so it like put value to all the good luck I had in my life, that it's not just luck, but it's also the ability to act on the opportunity, the skill.
No, I love that one. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a famous person. It could absolutely be your wife. Great. If you have one, I didn't mean to leave you out, but you do not have to give one if you don't have one.
No, I had one ready to go. I'm not quite sure who started this one because I know Marty Kagan has quoted it, but others have said it as well. But it's fall in love with the problem and not the solution. And I think that's so true as a solopreneur because sometimes I think we get so fixated on what the end product is or what our goals are that we're forgetting what we're solving, which is something that's truly foundational to product management and solving for the customer. So just staying true to that is really important and good advice.
Love it. Well, you guys, your book, Next Gen Product Management, is out. Where can people find it if they want to learn more and purchase it?
Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble, Kobo. It's all over the globe. So they can find it pretty much anywhere.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for coming on the show today. We so appreciate it. And listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, please leave that 5-star review, share this episode with a friend, subscribe on your favorite platform, including YouTube, and we will see you next time on The Aspiring Solopreneur.